Today I want to talk about why the HTX from G-Wolves is absolutely goated. So why do I like the HTX so much? And I've spoken in previous videos about the HSK Pro feeling like you're aiming with your eyes. And although I won't claim that the HTX embodies this experience in full, it is the next best thing in my collection for that immersed aiming experience. Its lightweight and full-size shell offers both great speed and stability, and I can react extremely fast with this thing in my hands. It makes me feel like a modern day budget Bruce Lee. I might not pull that off. I think so. Throughout this video, I'll throw in some side-by-side clips to help visualize the aiming benefits or properties of this mouse when compared to other mice in my collection. So stick around to see how it performs. This is the mouse that holds almost all of my high scores in Kovacs, and some of them were achieved in claw grip, most of them were achieved in fingertip grip. And in my opinion, the HTX is an S-tier tracking mouse, and it's also an S-tier clicking mouse. It's a really balanced experience, and although it is bigger than the HSK Pro and not designed specifically with fingertip grip in mind, I think the HTX Ace is probably the better, or rather safer option for most users that are considering the HSK Pro. Which segues me nicely into saying that this mouse is really very versatile. The HTX Ace is currently my claw grip and fingertip grip main mouse. And to be able to say that for one product, which is part of a large collection at this point, is really impressive to me. So I would strongly recommend this mouse to anyone who wants to experience a light and well-balanced product. Just bear in mind, I am testing other products at the moment that I haven't fully formed my opinion on. So we'll see if that changes over time. In summary, the HTX Ace gives you 95% of the benefits and the feel of the HSK Pro, but none of the negatives that I mentioned in my previous review. When I think about G-Wolves and how their mouse coating feels in hand, I find myself gravitating slowly towards the nearest pillow with an overwhelming urge to scream. I don't like the texture of G-Wolves mice because bare plastic for fingertip grip is truly nightmare material, but G-Wolves do throw in some serviceable grip tapes into the box, and it's a much nicer experience with grip tapes installed, especially with fingertip grip. I was really surprised with the build quality of my unit. It's been great, and there are only two issues here I can think to mention. One of which being that you can feel the compromises the team have had to make to reduce the weight so low. I can feel the shell flex if I press on it too hard, as an example. So I don't think that's really an issue for me personally, because I don't wield my mouse in a death grip. But if you apply a lot of force or a lot of pressure to your mice when you use them, you'll need to consider this because it will be noticeable for you. The second point I noticed with reference to build quality on the HTX was that out of the box, with the dot skates installed, I noticed the HTX didn't sit flat on my hard pad, but I threw some bigger feet on it and I didn't notice it wobble anymore after that. So what a handy segue onto mouse feet. It's almost like I planned it. One of the most underrated features of G-Wolves mice is that you can use whatever mouse feet you want, provided they fit within the base of the mouse, of course. And this can impact the way the mouse feels quite significantly. I have the Razer Viper Mini core pad feet installed on my unit, and they offer a lot of feedback from the playing surface. They give better stability and control than, say, a Tiger Ice Dot would, as an example. Speaking of which, if you want the fastest glide possible with limited feedback from the pad, then the Tiger Ice Dots are a really good option. There are so many different mouse feet options for this mouse, though I'd encourage you to experiment and find what works well for you. I really like the HTX shape. And shape is king after all, so we're working with a solid foundation here. The shape is often compared to the Viper Mini, and that's one of the community's favourite mice, at least as far as I can see. It is shaped like an hourglass with a bit more junk in the trunk, and it's a little narrower at the front. The HTX has a lot of comfort grooves down both sides, and this serves to lock your fingers into your grip. And generous, well-implemented comfort grooves are such a nice feature to have on a mouse, in my opinion. The mouse 1 and 2 buttons also have a nice shape to them. This just gives you a little bit more purchase on the clicks, which I appreciate. I typically like to fingertip grip right at the back end of my mice, but the booty was a touch too wide for me to grip the HTX that way. So I had to grip it a little further forward and I put my thumb under the back side button. This worked well for me, but more on that later. The way the front angles out slightly from the middle of the mouse, and also it angles up from the base, gives your fingers good purchase, and I appreciate this a lot. The dimensions of the mouse are a really good balance for both claw and fingertip grip. I'll talk first about my claw grip experience, but you all know I'm a fingertip enjoyer, so we'll get to that a bit later. I was surprised at how well I performed with this mouse in claw grip, but it is quite short and it is probably on the limit of what I could claw in terms of length. I've noticed that due to the low click height of the HTX, the thumb placement suffers in relaxed claw. If you have anything but skinny thumbs, you'll find that your thumb will make contact with the front mouse button by accident during those intense moments. And I switched to a more aggressive claw for this reason. There's a lot of shape to play with here, and if you have the grip tape installed, you'll have good options for finger and thumb placement on both sides, so long as you avoid that front mouse button. My preferred way to play with the HTX is in fingertip grip. I get an acceptable range of motion with the HTX, but the hump is quite long, and I do often feel it make contact with my palm under my ring and middle finger knuckles, and also the fleshy parts of my thumb. This isn't necessarily a bad thing in my experience, as it offers me a bit of stability when I typically need it most. But if you are seeking the maximum range of motion achievable for fingertip grip, I'd suggest the HSK Pro may be a better option for you. Speaking of which, some of the issues I had on the Wolves HTX Pro is that the clicks were too heavy for the weight of the mouse, and the lack of footprint on the smaller product reduced its stability, making it hard to be consistent with your aim. The HTX has much lighter clicks by comparison, even though they use the same switches, and the HTX is bigger in every dimension when compared to the HSK. I found this translates well into giving the HTX additional stability and control without any downsides I can think of. I think I could probably palm the HTX, but it is not the most comfortable grip for me with this mouse, and the mouse isn't very long when compared to my hand, so I won't pretend to have tried it. If I'm slowly convincing you to buy one of these mice, if you go direct to the Wolves website, you can use code LogPile for a discount at checkout. The scroll wheel, mouse 1 and 2 and side buttons have a solid implementation. The click position is really low at the front of mouse 1 and 2, but the further back you grip the mouse, the higher the clicks are. So if you use fingertip grip, you have options that will satisfy different click height preferences. The buttons feel quite good regardless of where you actuate them from on the button. The scroll wheel sits lower in the shell and feels a little harder to actuate than some of my other mice, but this isn't really an issue, it's just an observation. In terms of battery life, it's okay with the 1K polling rate, but I have been quite aware of my 75 milliamp hour battery limitations, and I typically charge the mouse after every other session. I play for up to 3 hours in a session, so I think you'd get about 8 or more hours from one full charge. Just note I haven't ever depleted the battery fully, so I can't tell you with confidence how long it will last, just that it hasn't bothered me at all because I guess I've just been conscious of its limitations. This would be a consideration if you wanted the 4K polling rate version though, which still comes with a 75 milliamp hour battery, as this 4K polling rate would deplete your tiny battery much faster, and therefore you'd probably want to add a bigger battery to your unit. And the HTX does come with a spare 150 milliamp hour battery in the box. You can also buy bigger batteries off of AliExpress if you desire, just make sure to buy the right one. This will of course increase the weight of the mouse, but it may be worth it for you if you want to use that 4K polling rate feature. Earlier in this video, I referred to the HTX Ace as my current main for fingertip grip and claw grip. And I call it my current main because I'm testing other products. For example, the Zowie EC1CW, I'm enjoying that mouse a lot, but I haven't fully formed my opinions on it yet. I'm also very aware that the Final Mouse Ultralight X, the Pulsar X2 Hump and the X-Lite V3 series are releasing soon. So I'm very interested to see if any of those upcoming offerings can bump the HTX off the pedestal for either fingertip or claw grip in my rankings. I must say though that if I wasn't a reviewer on YouTube, I probably wouldn't bother picking up the Final Mouse Ultralight X because I'm genuinely satisfied with the HTX Ace, and it feels that want or that need for a lightweight fingertip grip mouse. I still haven't committed to picking up the Final Mouse Ultralight X yet for that reason, although I do recognise it's a hot topic in the community at the moment. They're doing some unique things and I'd be daft not to give it some coverage. first world problems, I know. What I'm trying to say is, I think the HTX could be a really good alternative to the Final Mouse Ultralight X in terms of what it offers, and it's almost half the price. The HTX won't give you all of the Final Mouse Ultralight X specifications, but it will give you a similar experience, I think. So I'm going to close the video now, but as a final comment, I absolutely love the HTX Ace. I've really enjoyed using it. Basically has sidelined all of my other mice in my collection. So before we close the video, I just want to say great work to G-Wolves. My last two main mice, both the HSK Pro and the HTX Ace, have come from G-Wolves, and I've tried lots of different products from lots of different companies, so whatever you're doing over there is working, so keep them coming. So that's it. Catch you next time. Thank you. Bye.